Hello there, it's Carrie Rhoades here. Welcome back to the Trinity Stamps YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be playing with the Joyful Heart Gnome stamp set, but I am not making Valentine's cards. I know some of you are just getting these gnome stamps in your hands and Valentine's is almost here, so I wanted to share with you 3 different ways you could use this gnome and it would not be a Valentine's card. So I'm going to be making some mini slimline cards that are 6 by 6 inches folded in half at 3 inches. This is the mini slimline panel die set. I'm using the middle rectangle and then the panel die together, running them through the die machine at the same time so I can have a panel with a border. And I'm going to die cut 3 of these, 1 for each card, because I'm going to make it simple on myself and make my cards the same but with different themes. Now I'm bringing in the All Heart Slimline paper pad and I'm going to die cut just the panel die from the center of this. I like to cut from the center when I'm cutting something small. That way I could still use this as a border if I was going to make a traditional slimline style card. So there I have the opening, but I'm actually keeping the rectangles to do some paper piecing. I'm going to use this pattern from the black and white paper pad and do the same thing. So I will have those 3 rectangles for my second card, and then I will bring in the autumn rainbow paper pad and do this green pattern for my third card. And then you can see here how that's going to go together. I'll do the same thing on each card. And now I'm going to get the sentiments ready. So the first one, I'm using the Happy Senti-mini stamp and die set. I die cut the word happy. You either want to use the dies or you want to use the happy stamp. They don't die, the die doesn't cut out the words. They're separate things. And then I stamped the word happy 2 times for good measure because the first one didn't work out. And when I use a pair of long bladed scissors, is that a word, bladed? I don't think so. Scissors with the long blade, it's easy to just die cut or fussy cut around that word birthday. So now I'm going to glue the smaller white die cut that says happy onto the larger one. It's a very thin border all the way around, like a shadow. Pretty cool. And there's a little heart in the Y. I love that. Okay, this is a brand new die set right here. This is the Scripty Heart Die Set. There's the word sweet in it too, so you could make the sentiment say sweetheart. Mine is going to say heart of gold. And I die cut the smaller word with the gold mirror paper, and then I am backing that with a black shadow on each of the 3 words. And this is going to go on my card with the green rectangles. There we go. Love that look. This will be a St. Patrick's Day inspired card. And then for my black and white card, I am bringing out the stamp set. What is this stamp set called? Love and Stuff Sentiments. Brand new. I just opened it for this saying right here, and it says, "You're my favorite." I love that. My dad always says, "You're my favorite daughter," to all 4 of his daughters. And then I'm bringing in my graham cracker alphabet and die cutting out the letters to spell Nomi. You're my favorite Nomi. I love it. So I'll put those on the card, so I have all the sentiments ready to go. And now it's time to stamp out 3 gnomes. Again, this is the Joyful Heart Gnome. He is just simple and super cute holding a heart. So of all the Valentine gnomes, I feel like this one is very versatile because you really can use it for so many different occasions besides just Valentine's Day. So again, I'm stamping that 3 times, once for each card, and I'm using some Copic friendly black ink on some white cardstock. Now I'm going to color the beards all the same using N1 as my darkest color, and then once I have that all around the edge of the beard and underneath where his hands are holding the heart, I'm going to blend that out with my N0 marker. And then just to soften out those edges, I'm going to bring in my colorless blender. I'm going to color all of the boots the same, N7 being the darkest and just laying in some shadow, and then I will blend that out with N5, which is my mid-tone, and I'll use that same marker for some shadow on the upper part of the boot, and then my lightest color is N3. And I did go over the boots 2 times just to really intensify the color a little bit. I wanted them to be a dark gray, so 2 times was the trick. For the skin on all 3 of these gnomes, I'm starting with E53 and bringing in my shadow color, E55, and then blending that out again with the lightest color. And some R21 for a little pink touch to those cheeks. Now for this hat, I thought my first card had a purple tint to it, but it really didn't. So I colored this whole thing and then realized this does not match the paper that I picked out. So I brought back in some markers and kind of colored on the paper to figure out which matches better. You can see it's not purple. It really looks pink, but I don't know. It looked like it matched my sweatshirt when I was die cutting the paper, so that's why I went with the purple, but no. So I'm going to save that gnome for another day and another project, and I'm going to move on to R83, which is my darkest, and RV11, which is my lightest, to blend this out. And that looks much more like the paper. I am coloring all their mittens to match their hats. For this one, I only use the darkest color on the mittens, and then I use the lightest color on the heart. Now this little guy, I wanted to use some traditional garden gnome colors, so I'm using blue for his hat. This is B18, I believe, is my lightest, and B29 is my darkest. And this just gives it that really kind of like primary blue color, which I was totally going for. So I love it. And I'll color his little mittens to be the same color. Now here's a question. That fur around the mittens, do you feel like that is part of his beard or fringe, you know, like fur around the cuff of the mitten? I could not decide. I just added a little C1 on that part, and I thought the card recipient could decide. Okay, so I had to stamp out another gnome because, you know, I have to save that purple one for another time. So this is my third gnome, and I'm coloring his hat green, so he kind of looks a little St. Patrick's Day inspired. I've been seeing a lot of St. Patrick's Day decor with gnomes. So I guess that's what inspired this. I kind of didn't think about it until I was coloring him and then remembered I have seen a lot of that. All right, so then for the heart, I am using some Y markers and my E13 marker to make this heart look gold, because remember my sentiment says heart of gold. So I like to use the E13 over my golden yellow colors to give it that golden look. Now on all the gnomes, I'm going to add some white gel pen highlights. I'm only going to show you one because I did them all exactly the same, and I also used the white gel pen to clean up the edges where I went out of the lines. Some girl might need glasses soon. Yeah. All right, so now I am going to die cut out each of these with the coordinating die, and there you can see all the markers I used to color out these gnomes. I took the purple ones out because I'm not using that in my project today. So I'm going to glue on my frame, and then I will add each of those panels to the inside right like that, just inlaying it in. Now you could flip them over and have different patterns in there. I'm such like a matchy girl. I couldn't do it on this one. I love the little hearts, so I needed them all to match on this card. But there you can see the pink, so much better. So I'm going to go ahead and glue on my sentiment. I'm putting the happy in the upper left corner of the card, and then the birthday will go in the lower right corner of the card. And then for my gnome, I'm actually going to use some foam squares and pop it up. I love dimension on my cards. Like if I could just pop everything up, I would probably do that. And I went through a kick where I did that, but let me tell you something, it costs more postage. So I decided maybe I don't love popping everything up as much as I thought I did, because every card needed extra postage. And when you're doing Christmas cards, it's not as fun to put all that extra postage on 50 cards, you know? All right, so on to the black and white card. I am using this cute flower pattern, and there's so many cool patterns in the black and white paper. It's kind of hard to choose, but I just for some reason thought garden gnome, flowers, it worked. All right, so then here's my white embossed sentiment on black paper. Again, I'm going with the same thing, starting in the upper left corner and then finishing my sentiment in the bottom right corner. So now I'm going to use my tweezers and a precision tipped glue to glue on my word Gnome. And I have a little paper towel there because even though you have a precision tip, these letters are quite thin. So if I feel like I have too much glue, I just lightly tap it down onto my paper towel very quickly, and it just takes off a little bit of glue so I don't have so much that squishes out. But if this glue does squish out, it dries with a matte finish, so that's always a good kind of glue to use whenever you're doing precision gluing. Otherwise, if it doesn't have a matte finish and it squishes out and dries, then you're going to have like a shiny spot. So that's why having a matte finish is important. And also, when you're doing this, it is important that you know how to spell backwards. I am not good at spelling like forwards, so I was a little nervous about this, even though it's an easy word. Just be careful, kind of line up your letters before you get started, and then you won't have a spelling mistake on your card. Again, I am popping up that gnome. He got a red heart, so he has that red and blue traditional gnome color, and that card could be for any time, just telling someone thank you or that you're thinking of them, something like that. And now for my St. Patrick's Day inspired card, I am going to flip the paper over so the center one is striped. It felt right on this card. I don't know why, but it did. And then my gnome is going to go in the center. Now these words are much bigger, so I really had to make sure I had good placement of all the things, and I am going to pop up all of the things, and that will be a little bit of some card surgery, as I like to call it, where I cut the foam squares in pieces so they fit onto those die cuts. And that will finish up the sentiment on my third card. And this one might be my favorite. I would love to know which one is your favorite, but I still have some embellishing to do. So let's move on to that. First, I am taking some diamond stickles and filling in all of the hearts. And I love how it kind of transforms the look of the hearts, and each of them looks a little different because of the color that's behind it. And I especially love it on the gold. I don't know if that gold one is just my favorite. I'm loving it. Next, I'm going to take a sentiment from this stamp set that says, "You bring joy to my heart." I'm going to stamp that on the inside of each of these cards. I thought it went with all of them really well. And again, another great stamp set for any occasion, not just Valentine's Day. Next, I'm going to add some embellishments. So on this happy birthday card, I have the silver baubles, and I end up adding 5. I felt like one on the left side of the gnome was just not enough, so I added 5, and that was the magic number. For my Gnome, he is getting the something new. They're like iridescent pearls, and again, I'm going to do 5 of those, and that will finish off this card. Moving on to my favorite card, I'm adding, of course, some gold baubles, and again, 5 of those on this one. And I think that is it for today's cards. I had so much fun playing with this gnome, and I think there's so many possibilities with it, and probably with some of the other gnomes from this new release as well. So I just want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with me as I share my love of card making with you. All the things I used are listed and linked for you below. If you're new to this channel, we would love for you to subscribe, and then if you ring the bell, you'll know next time Trinity Stamps has a new video. Thanks again for watching, and happy stamping. Bye.